Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 451. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Zellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, Burnout 3 Takedown is the game that's getting discussed, then ranked. Classic from Criterion Games. More on that in a bit. First, I want to know, Mark and Matt, what was the first video game song that made you feel like life was worth living? Mark, what do you think?
Gut reaction was Goldfinger Superman.
Okay. So you didn't really think life was worth living for quite a bit in
Well,
your
I just didn't think about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you're just doing what you do, and then you hear that light guitar and the drum roll in the beginning, and the trumpets kick in, and then you start to it makes you take a moment and pause, and you know what? Yeah, you stop taking what you have for granted at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I was like, what,
Matt?
10 years old?
Yeah, but yeah.
I guess the same, right? I guess the only game that I really play that you kind of soundtrack is so much part of the atmosphere is Final Fantasy VII, right? Because there's no dialogue or anything like that. But I wouldn't know a track name. Well, now I do, but I wouldn't know a track name back then. So same thing. It probably comes from a game, and honestly, it's probably something like Tony Hawk, where I can't name a song from that fucking thing now to save my life. That soundtrack, but
Superman.
I mean, yeah, sure. Probably around there. It's when I listen to stuff, and then I don't know. It's getting late into my life here for a song to bring me Evanescence style, bring me to life here, but in PS2 with EA tracks, not to segue this, but I'm talking Madden 2001, MVP baseball, all that stuff. Around that time is when I guess I start paying more attention, and I guess I find a song there. I remember listening to TNT a lot from the Tony Hawk 4 soundtrack for some reason.
TNT, I don't remember.
AC/DC.
Yeah, okay.
I was on Tony Hawk 4. I remember listening to that a lot, limiting into the track list a little bit to have that queue up a bunch. That's the first time I remember doing something like that.
The first song I remember standing out to me was Chemical Plant Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
You know what?
And I remember unlocking the debug mode where you could go and do the sound test and just jamming to Chemical Plant Zone. And it's still one of those things where the other day I made a couple of changes to some Mr. settings, and you kind of need that ground level home base to check, and you know what I mean, to gauge any changes you've made. In Sonic 2 I was yeah, let's do that, let me see how that feels. And I got almost through the first stage, and I was you know what, I'm ready to turn this off, but if I just beat Robotnik at the end of the first stage, I'm gonna get that sweet Chemical Plant music. And it's still, dude, it just punches so good.
It does.
What's a good standout song from freaking Grand Theft Auto 3? Because honestly, Chatterbox was the main event, I think, on the radio. But just riding around, just joyriding and carjacking and listening to the radio stations was worth just living, honestly.
Matt, even though that game has a lot of licensed music in it, and I know we were naming some licensed music earlier outside of Sonic, but when you first boot up Grand Theft Auto and that piano plays,
speak international jazz.
Yeah. But it just sets the mood. Yeah, that's real good.
Is Chatterbox a real answer? I know that's not music, but is Chatterbox a legitimate answer?
Actually, look, like, giving it some thought now, yeah, gut reaction was Tony Hawk on 64, like, specifically the 64 version of Superman. The 1 minute of no lyrics. Turtles in Time, like, every level. Like, I don't think there's a song I hate. Well, no, that's not true. There's probably one. The pirate level I don't care too much for. But, like, the rest of it, it's just ingrained. It's just so good. Whole thing.
What year did Tetris Effect come out? How old was I? That one.
Yeah.
First track. Or, no, last track, I guess. Yeah, last track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still get that stuck up. That was stuck in my head like 3 days ago. Just out of the blue.
Funny enough.
Doing something.
One of those songs came on yesterday in my car while I was waiting in line in a fast food chain for quite some time.
And it reminded you that we're all connected.
It was literally that one, but
a dolphin the same way.
You can't.
Like, I'm serious.
Bonus round. Name a movie from the early 2000s that did not include a song by Simple Plan.
Freddy versus Jason.
Are you sure about that?
I was hesitant.
Like
I was so hesitant. I'm pretty sure.
I can't for sure tell you if H2O does not have it or not. Well, no, that's 98. No, sorry, that's 98 anyway. It would be Resurrection.
H2O is Creed.
I can confirm, surprisingly, with much surprise, that Burnout 3 Takedown did not have a song by Simple Plan.
Yeah, that was weird.
A lot of music in this that I forgot about. Burnout 3 Takedown, brought to you by Electronic Arts in the year 2004. Specifically, first released on September 7th, 2004, for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. At that point. Developed by Criterion Games, published by Electronic Arts. This is the first one to be published by Electronic Arts because previously Criterion had made Burnout 1 and 2 on their own. I believe the first one was published by Bandai here. Weirdly enough. Back of the box, don't fight traffic. Destroy it.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Clean, simple, you know?
Debatable.
Oh. Here we go. This one, Matt, you added Burnout 3 Takedown to the list for us to get into. Who owned this? Did you guys own this?
I owned it. I owned this game.
I never really played a Burnout as much as I played this one for this episode. When you added this to the list, I was like, I think I had 1 and 2, but not 3. But playing this, I was like, I feel like I had 3, but I don't remember specifically or not. I need to check a memory card and find out. But
or play through enough Metal Gear and have your memory cards read to you.
Or
I see. Yeah.
Well, did we all actually play Burnout 3 here, or did we really play the demo for Need for Speed Underground 2 in the options menu? That's what we're really talking about here.
Yes, exactly. Welcome to our talk, the Need for Speed Underground.
Well, we didn't get to our ranking yet. That was a secret card I had played.
Yeah, So the new thing was crash mode was the idea, right? And Takedown specifically over Burnout 2. But it does feel like that stuff was always there. I don't know why, but I guess the original Burnout was really like you could crash, and they did very cinematic camera work to highlight the crashes, but it was not the focal point of the game where, I think later instances would bring it in. I don't know. Playing this, I got weirdly nostalgic about the old title screen, and I realized that like a lot of old title screens, now that I see them and those companies are gone or have changed or things like that stands out to me. It was like the first thing I noticed with this was like, oh man, yeah, EA, like that old EA introduction something about it just was like, felt like going home, you know? And then just the menu here, like everything came back immediately. I was like, oh yeah, okay. I've been here before and it feels good to be here again. Overall, I felt like the game was just really great to play. Like it felt better than I remembered it. I shouldn't say that. It felt like I remembered it feeling, right? Like I feel like there's some driving games, especially where you go back to them 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, and it just like, this sucks. This feels stiff. This feels whatever. This doesn't feel like, you know what I mean? But this one, I think, consistently felt good to drive. Steering felt good. The, like, utilizing the turbo to rocket boost, so to speak, like all of that stuff, like the way you tailgate and weave in and out of traffic and things for points and whatnot, like all of the actual game feels really good still. That I was surprised that it did.
That's why I said debatable earlier, because doing the near misses to get the nitro, I found I was way more of a fan of than crashing every 5 seconds, because I like nipped a mirror, like a car's side mirror or something, and all of a sudden I just crashed out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, that's great, that's awesome. But no, I had a really fun time with this. I was not expecting to have that much fun with it. I mean, I don't hate racing games or anything, but I just wasn't expecting that for some reason, and I'm glad I didn't, because it paid off at the end. But like, I mostly just did like the main like campaign or whatever thing, as far as
the world tour.
Yeah, like as far as I could get. And yeah, it felt good to like when you would like throw the opponents off or like run them into something, or
oh yeah,
it just, I mean, eventually I had to go turn off the whole kill cam thing, because it started to backfire on me, where like I'm in the middle of dodging traffic or about to hit like a girder or like a wall or something, but it decides to pan away and show the opponent doing a flip. I'm like, I'm okay, good for me, but I need to please come back. I need to dodge real quick. And by the time I come back, I bite it, or concrete kiss, as they call it.
Right. Yes, of course.
No, but yeah, I never thought I would be getting revenge to Sugar Cult's memory. It was,
dude. That was
weird
another
vibe.
weird thing about this, is like remembering that Sugar Cult existed.
My favorite band's in this game too. Chronic Future.
I don't remember Chronic Future.
They have a song called Time and Time Again on here. That was like their one hit. They weren't really that popular, but I think are in maybe like this game and maybe one or two other EA games or something like that.
I can for sure tell you it's in an MVP baseball.
Yeah,
I think it was like their title song of that
it
game. It
might be that and like a hockey game, maybe.
I guess I wasn't buying hockey games every year at this point.
But yeah, I think their CD came out that same year, and then I just fell in love with them. They were like my all-time favorite band or whatever, but they're not around anymore. But it was nice to hear them again.
I feel like there's a lot of bands that were on this soundtrack that kind of have that thing. Like some have lasted, and I think some that were on this, like, yeah, I don't know, they're still around, or like, I don't know, like a band like the Ramones. I feel like they kind of like, they're elevated above, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of these bands that were just kind of like one and done. Like the songs were here, they were of that era, and like those people are now doing whatever else. But like the Ramones are always the Ramones, you know?
Yeah, the ones of the era, I noticed because I went back to like the track list just to look at it, because I was first like, oh yeah, I remember all this. It's like a big nostalgia trip, and a lot of it, you know, is like kind of emo, kind of pop punk, and then there's some like classic in there. There's 3 songs that have the title "Come On" as their song name. So you have like "Come On," then you have like C''mon, like "Come On."
Come on.
Yeah, so you have "Come On," and then Come On" from the Von Bondies. But I just thought that was a weird trend they had to go on there. And
I wonder if there was a thing where someone in like the licensing department was like, we need to get "Come On," and they're like, okay, cool, we'll call the record company.
Yeah.
They call and they like We got all of them. We got every song called "Come On."
They probably all just meant one song, but they're all thinking of different ones, and somehow it just came to that.
They just licensed everything.
I thought
it's fine. We got the money.
What did you think of like the like radio DJ?
I hate him a lot. When I would start to get into a song, he would interrupt it. Like, I was having a lot of fun. Like, it happened every time. And there's an option to disable him. And I kept saying, like, nah, it's fine. It's not that bad. And then straight up, I'd be, like, jamming and just cruising through. And I'm like, oh, cool. I can hear the drums hitting. It's about to hit the chorus. Yes! And he's like, hey, I'm this guy.
You just bark at your game, like, stop!
Yes.
It's so hot out, you need 99 SPF, and I rubbed it all over my body because it is burnout hot. And it just cuts off, and it's like, all right, yeah, it's hot outside.
I liked that the game was doing something different by, like, kind of having that string everything together, and him just kind of, like, talking you through stuff. I appreciated that version of a tutorial in a weird way, when he would, like, first tell you how to play. But yeah, like, totally, when you get cut off during a song that you want to listen to, that can be annoying. But,
especially when you pause the menu to skip to a song you wanted to listen to because it got cut off earlier, and then you're like right in the good part, and then
I was like, man, Striker, you hit the nail on like what it is to be a radio DJ. And I look it up; he is a real radio DJ. I'm like, oh,
okay,
that makes a lot of sense. Then, good for you. It's, but that's interesting for a racing game to do something like that, to where like the music part of it took more of a forefront than most racing games.
It was as important as the gameplay itself, which I think is like, this is the point. Like, we're 2004, we're years into the PlayStation 2's life cycle, and I feel like you are really getting the benefits of what the PS2 era was, right? Like, okay, video games are a real thing now, right? Like, people are paying attention to video games in a way they had not been before. There's money to be made and spent in developing and selling video games. So let's do that. So they licensed all of the hottest tracks of the era. They got a real radio DJ to do commentary over the thing. And the way they treat it, like they treated it, again, I think like serving that stuff as important as the gameplay, it made it so that you had to care, right? Like you didn't have to like all the songs. And if you didn't, you just slam on that L2 button, next track. But yeah, it worked. I really liked, too, you mentioned the World Tour. And I can't remember, when I played this way long ago, but playing it this time around, seeing it where it's like broken up by region, I was like, okay, I have to go all the way through North America, then unlock Europe, then unlock Asia. I was very surprised very quickly how you jump the globe, and you're jumping between different areas of the globe and getting different scenery and different challenges along the way. I thought that was like a really, really neat way to break up because racing games can be monotonous, right? Depending on how they're, I think every racing game is different. So, or rather every race is different. So it's easy to kind of have them each feel fluid and unique, but still the same scenery, the same cars, the same whatever can feel very, very tiring after not too long. And this one I think did a good job at introducing a new challenge. Matt, how was it returning to it for you this time?
It was good. I came back. I enjoyed this a lot. It's a lot simpler. It's weird because I'm still kind of playing GT7 in the background, so it's very weird to kind of bring myself back down to arcade a little bit. But after I got past that in like the first race, it was good to just be like ridiculous drifting, the near missing, ongoing traffic, and just the absurd boosting, the takedowns, I'm saying all the buzzwords about this game, but like, it's fun to be in. It's fun to play, and when I always found this game interesting with me because like this is probably one of the first racing games that had like a big impact. Like, sure, I had like the first Gran Turismo on PlayStation 1, but I didn't really understand what was going on probably back then. It was a racing game, but like the tuning and like the appreciation for cars and stuff like that, I certainly didn't have. So like this one, like I think this is probably like the first big impact racing game that I had. And funny enough, like I got it, I think more so for the crash stuff. But like the crash stuff is fun, and that's like that's a very delicate mode because it's almost treated more like a puzzle than it is like just strip crashing. Like there's an elegance and a like there's things you have to do to make sure you get that gold medal. But then like I don't know, like crashing, like it's still fun, but the racing and the modes around racing and takedowns and stuff like that are what kept me around. And I'm not gonna say I beat the world tour. There's a lot there, but I made a significant dent in it as a kid. I just had so much fun, and I remember doing like pass the controller multiplayer for the crash mode to see who can cause the most damage. There's a lot to offer in this game, and it's real good. I was happy to come back to it. It kind of stood the test of time here.
Yeah, that was the part that I forgot that I had done. Like I do specifically because this came out, I guess, like when I was I was just starting high school. So I remember like being in a friend's house and us just playing this, or bringing it over to my house and playing just crash mode and seeing who can like, and sometimes it was like within dollars of one another that you were like doing a little bit better. And it was all about like the exact angle that you take the launch, or how you rotate your car through the air. Like when
looking
you
for the
pull
tanker,
R2.
looking for the tanker.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know, that was like such a weird side mode that became kind of a game in and of itself. But I think that is playing that mode and revisiting that kind of brought back the memories of where you would almost, I think like it's probably a product of being younger and having a lot more disposable time and not as much to do, but those games or game moments where you find yourself just, I don't know, playing the game. Like it sounds weird, like I don't mean that like everything now needs to be like, okay, I need to get from beginning to end, but I kind of do, right? And I don't feel like a lot of games now, and maybe it's games, maybe it's me, maybe I don't know, this is a deeper topic altogether, but like I don't think there's a lot where like I just get lost in the system. Like I remember when we would play certain games, like we would set it, if there were timers you could modify, like we would just set it to unlimited time and then just wander around and play with the physics of the world, see what you could do and get away with, and like break and not break and whatever. And I think crash mode was one of those where, yes, it's pretty like, I think defined in what you are supposed to do and able to do, but the fact that it can become kind of a playground, I think was, I don't know, I remember spending a significant amount of time in crash mode. And I also completely forgot that A, this game existed, and B, I had ever played it or spent, but like playing it now, it all came back to me. Very strange phenomenon.
Yeah, I had different impressions about crash mode before playing it. Like, I thought it was something else that it wasn't. It was close, but you remember that game Stuntman?
I do, yeah.
Where I think the whole point of that was like, you would crash your car, but then the guy would fly out ragdoll, and then he would hit stuff, and then that would build up points or something like that. I thought that was in this game for some reason. I thought that was crash mode. So whenever I thought of Burnout, I thought about Stuntman. So I had my wires crossed and mixed up, and I feel like it was because of like a TV spot on Toonami or something when they advertised games here and there. I just remember him talking about Stuntman, but for some reason, got the name Stuntman and tied it to Burnout.
This is of an era where there were so many things like this. Again, I think like we are a decade into 3D games properly, right? And like people know things and people are playing with physics systems. You now have proprietary or rather like standards for physics engines like Havoc and stuff like that out there that people can play with and toy around with that like they didn't have before. And I think that lent to a lot of similar experiences of people like, wait, if I do this, then I can build. I think like all of that stuff comes of that, and this was definitely a product of that, as was Stuntman.
I feel if you love Burnout, you are sure to love F-Zero. This feels like in F-Zero's timeline, Burnout leads to F-Zero in some weird way.
I also really appreciated achievements that were built into the game that felt like ahead of their time. Obviously, we would get achievements like a year later. But yeah, like the fact that there were these things built into it where you're doing things in the game and then getting rewarded for it, which sounds so duh right now, but like, and it's not that we didn't have things like that before, but like the way it was defined in this, like as a list, and like you did this, you took down your first, or you got revenge your first time or something like that, like those little things, completed world tour, etc., all of those things like adding up, like.
But then
I wonder, yeah.
You see, like not only that, like not only are you checking the boxes, but like you kind of get that preview while you are checking the box. I'm sure there's actually a menu where you can see what you've done so far, but like it's tiered out, so it's like, you know, not only getting that double takedown and you check that box that feels good, but like you realize like you're in the hard tier and you got it. Like, oh, all right, that's like a rare thing that I'm like, yeah. That's like, it's cool. Like you kind of figure it's rare, but you kind of get the reassurance and it makes it feel like a bigger moment, and like somehow like. It makes checking that box makes that moment feel better, like after the fact. That's just such a weird thing.
It's like it's such a nitpicky thing, but when it takes the snapshot of like that moment,
the signature takedowns.
Yeah, it's not your car in the photo. It's just like whatever default image they have for that thing. They make it seem like they're taking a picture of your moment. And it's like, oh, my car wasn't black. I had a red car.
Yeah.
This isn't my moment. Whose snapshot is this? That's really cool that they were able to like acknowledge it and do that.
I don't have much else in my notes on this one. I really appreciate it. I think the thing that all kind of pointed out is how much fun it still is to play and how it holds up. And to go back to the settings menu of Need for Speed Underground, not 2, but 1. When I got my PS2 up and running probably like 5 years ago or so now, one of the first games I remember like wanting to dive into was Need for Speed Underground. I didn't have my copy anymore, so I bought a new copy of it at a flea market, popped it in the PS2, and that game feels terrible. I don't know why. I remember spending so much time with Underground, customizing it, building all of the cars with all of the crazy whatever, and it did not feel fun to play. It felt slow, it felt sluggish, it felt weird, and I kind of, like, going into Burnout 3 had those same reservations, like, okay, it's probably going to be a PS2 era driving game, and then so surprised that it was, like, fluid and fun, and...
Yeah,
and it's... Go ahead.
I was to say, with Underground, I also forgot, like, when I played the demo for 2 in the thing, I just wanted to see how it ran. It's basically like a tutorial that you just drive through. It's just like a open world kind of thing. You just drive to these little, like, checkpoints, and it tells you about the game. But I remember in those games, they wanted you to, like, grind and, like, really get all those parts. So no matter what car you had in the beginning, it always felt like crap. But in order to make it feel good, you had to like really, really get like the best parts, and that took so many hours to invest. It was such a time sink.
Yeah, and I think like probably revisiting it a few years ago, I didn't give it enough time because I do remember spending so much time in Need for Speed Underground 1. But the fact that this feels so good immediately, and I'm sure, you know, like,
it's helpful.
If I had gone all the way through to the very end of World Tour this time around, like getting all of the cars unlocked and things like that, like you get better cars as you go, but yeah.
Well, like the thing is, like you don't get better, like you just get different series cars. I mean, they get faster as time goes on. That's kind of adding to the difficulty, right? Because your split-second decisions, you know, you have less time to make them, right? As traffic zooming by you, but I was gonna say, like, and it's impressive that like this game is so good. It's really a 3-button game with an optional 4th and 5th if you really wanted it. Like gas, brake, which also leads into your drift. Like there's no handbraking involved to do that or anything like that. And turbo, and like you can hit L2 to change track, and you can use L1 to peek behind you. But like you don't necessarily need it. I mean, it's just something I do. I'm used to kind of doing it in racing games, but like. It's a 3-button game, and it's so good, and it works so well, and it's like complicated still at the same time because you know timing those drifts, you know, to get the extra star for that extra bit of boost or whatever. Especially when, like you have to get good at that stuff, especially if you become like a leader in a race because you're not really taking down cars to get boosts. So you have to figure out different ways to get boost. It's a weird dynamic how the systems to get boosts kind of play into where you're out in the track and things like that. And it's a 3-button game. All these systems, but it's a 3-button game.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think about. It's like, yeah, right.
I like.
They don't have the option to do manual transmission, do they?
I don't think there's gear.
Yeah,
I don't think there's like gearboxes or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because there's no thing. There's no UI to.
And
they're not going to They're not going to make you use your ears on in this game.
Not when it's got those sweet EA tracks.
No. Oh, well, no. It's DJ Striker as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
No, but I like how the game notifies you too. Like if you're like how many seconds you're behind a certain car or whatever. It's like, all right, so I need to boost for this long, and then I'll catch up or something.
Yeah.
Or when it says like somebody's behind you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yet when you use L1 to look behind you, it's like, all right, you're lying, game. I don't see anybody. And then so I stop looking behind me, and then immediately I just get like sidetracked. I'm like, where did you come from? All right, game.
That's a small gripe I have of this game. Some of the comeback mechanics are like obtuse. Like, I know you want to get the player back in, but like, I really didn't hit boost, and now I went from 6 seconds down to 2. Like, come on. Like, I'm not driving that well to make up 4 seconds that little bit of time. And same thing, you'd be 8 seconds ahead. The next checkpoint is like, enemy or, opponent is 1 second behind you. Like, what the fuck happened? I didn't crash. I have had a full turbo this whole entire time. I've been mashing it. Like, that's like a small gripe I have with like the AI is the comeback mechanics, both ways, I think. But other than that, I think that's like really like, besides some quality of life things that we get nowadays and things like that, I think that's my main gripe with this game, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about things that I did not I mean, the DJ, but that's not anything to like really,
Yeah.
It's no cribs mode, I tell you what. But Mark, I mean, did you have any specific?
I think just like the hit detection on some things, or like the collision detection, whatever. Like you could fart on a car and it would count as you crashing, and then you just have to like wait there for like 3 seconds while you're going in slow motion. Like, can we just get through this? Come on.
Yeah.
And then like it resets you, and then you were in first place, but now all of a sudden you're in 5th because it took you like 4 seconds to die and reset. And it's like, that's probably shouldn't happen because that was technically time was slowed down, but all right. But
yeah.
But that didn't deter me from the game. It didn't make me want to like bite the controller or turn it off or whatever. It was just, and it didn't happen all the time. It was just, it's just random. It just felt random. So it's like, you might get a moment where like you crash into things like one after another, like consecutively, and that might like irk you or something for a little bit. But the replay value of this and just the way the game feels, it makes up for it immensely. Like, it's just water all down your back.
I think a lot about this era in those arcade racers where you have this, you still have Ridge Racer as a viable franchise, and we really don't have a lot like it anymore. Like, can you think of a modern game that still feels and plays like a Ridge Racer or Burnout or?
I haven't played many modern racers, but maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say maybe Forza?
That one's still like chasing the Gran Turismo thing of being a simulation.
Oh, because it felt arcadey with some of the stuff like you can do with like its physics and.
I think it is, but honestly, I think the thing that I like. Let's see what happens. I mean, Forza proper this year, if that's still hitting this year, is going to be more Gran Turismo style. But like Forza Horizon, the last two, I think what was it? This last one was 5, right? So 4 was exciting that it was like this cool open world and whatever. But now that they've done it again with 5, while I think the locale is much more appealing, I was also like, I don't want to do a big open world racing game again. Like, it kind of like detracted from the overall experience. So I think they do, but it's not like as like concise like this or Ridge Racer where it's like, I want to play this stage, I'm going to do that. But you know what I mean? Like that open world thing changes it enough that.
Well then,
yeah,
I want to say Hot Wheels.
I really want to. I've like been on the verge of buying that Hot Wheels game so many times. It's been on sale a few times, like half off, and I'm like, should I?
It's like I really haven't seen gameplay of it, to be quite honest. But like, I feel like that when I heard Hot Wheels, I kind of immediately considered it like a kart racer.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely more arcade in the simulation, right? But in a way, it simulates Hot Wheels pretty well. Like, like the tracks are really decent. Like from what I've seen of it, like just it's a good like polished racing game. But simple, you know.
I should buy it. I gotta just pull the trigger on.
I don't think there's any like power ups and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that. Yeah. Do you think so? Criterion, since making Burnout, has now been pulled in to work on other EA properties. The most recent game Criterion has worked on is the upcoming Untitled Need for Speed 2022 release. What can Need for Speed learn and borrow from Burnout 3 to get your attention?
A proper crash mode back into the game.
Is that, I mean, honestly, is that the thing that's missing from Need for Speed?
Sorry. What was the... Wait, I think I jumped ahead on a question. What was the question?
Just like, what can Need for Speed...
What can Need for Speed learn? Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
I think... I don't think Need for Speed needs to compete in the Horizon market. I think it needs to make its own market and come back and be a little bit more arcadey, a little bit more loosey-goosey. Yes, you might lose the car licenses, but like if you make a fun game like Burnout 3, the car licenses won't matter. And God forbid, GTA has not had car licenses ever, and no one complains about the cars in that game. So like...
No, but I would much rather spend 2 hours driving in GTA than spend 30 minutes with one of those newer Need for Speeds.
Yeah, I agreed. Especially 5. I like GTA 5's driving a lot. I think they need to step back a little bit and get away from the story stuff. That's not working. Like, you've tried it. Stop.
And maybe they are. I mean, it's been a few years since a Need for Speed, and I think they intentionally took some time away to reevaluate what that franchise can be. Mark, what do you think? What's missing?
Aaron Paul.
I just say get away from the story stuff.
No.
Go all in on story.
Yeah. Honestly, I love the burn meter. That's one of my favorite mechanics with this game. Like, because you don't have to necessarily be good at the game, and you still get rewarded in a way. And I know that's probably enabling some bad habits in a way, or morally speaking. But I think, keep cutting off my own sentences here. I love that it still incentivizes you to keep going. It doesn't tell you like, hey, like you got to have racing experience to play this game. It's like, no, like, all right, yeah, you messed up, but that doesn't mean it's over. Like, keep going. And I like that part of it. I like that aspect of it. And then when you have like the little meter, and then all of a sudden you do a cool thing, and that meter just gets like super long, and it's like infinite for a while, and you just like, yeah, there's your Need for Speed, buddy. Like that is just constant going. Everything's just blur around you. Crush 40 starts playing, possibly. Maybe we'll throw that in there. Like, I don't know. Have some more original music too. Like when you get a new car in Burnout, I love like that stock punk music that plays. I laugh every time because it's just so silly to me for some reason. Like all it's missing is just like some guy just going, "Yeah, you did it, dude." And it's like, you got a new car. Like, I don't know.
It's even better when like you do enough and it's like 3 new cars, like one after another, and it just keeps repeating like that same cycle.
It's like, yeah. But the burn meter for sure.
Yeah, and I think like from what you both described, I think there's just like, it seemed like this game is a product of a development team like wanting to make something that they wanted to make, and I feel like so much of those newer Need for Speed games have been like, yes, we like making racing games, but statistics show us that users engage more with a story, so we must have a story. Like, I think so much of the newer Need for Speeds have been a product of that stuff, combined with, you know, the want to make a good racing game and a fun racing game. But, like, I mean, that one Need for Speed a few years back was like, okay, we're an open world now. And it's like, okay, just like everybody, which is fine, but it kind of lacks the core of what was fun in a racing game.
Was Need for Speed originally like driving away from cops or whatever, or was that just Hot Pursuit?
I want to say like 2 added some weird stuff. I remember the original one was straight up just, I think the original one might have just been drag racing. If my memory of it was being in like some Lamborghini-esque Ferrari thing.
Yeah.
And just going down a drag strip. But I'm sure there was more to it. I just can't remember.
Like, why, like, I mean, we are getting into open world territory here, but, like, lean in, like, do it without the story. All right, we know, like, you're racing. It's illegal. Like, I don't think I need some kind of context as to why it's illegal this time around. Like, and then do some fun, like, cops and robbers multiplayer modes for online play and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. And then, oh my God, you could use the takedown mechanic as a way of, you know, cops and drivers shedding one another. That'd be fun. I have a lot of fun playing that.
Yeah.
I forgot about the whole cop thing with Need for Speed. I haven't played Need for Speed. I try to get into those too, and they're just, I can't. I can't.
Yeah, like, I'd rather just, like Joe said earlier, rather just go back to GTA and drive away
or
from
go to
these
this.
cops.
I'll come back to this in a heartbeat now again, because it still holds the test of time. And I've never played 1 or 2 Burnout, so I can always go back to them, try them out.
Did either of you play Paradise City?
Sure did.
Is that not good? I never
So-
played it.
Or not Paradise City, it's Paradise, but they have that terrible song in it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I think they did open world before they knew how to flesh out open world stuff, and it's got very repetitive, but they took out the crash mode. That's what I was alluding to before. I thought you said what would be in the next Burnout game and not Need for Speed. They need to bring back crash mode and do it proper, not that dumb top-down Burnout crash thing that they try to cash in on.
Yeah.
Do proper crash mode. Sure, do open world if you want to. You can see where they want 3 to be with the radio DJ and how he comes in and out. Like, you can kind of see what they're trying to do, but you know, if they want to do that, sure, but flush it out a little bit more. Like, have like populated like crash events. Like, you're coming down a junction, it's like, oh hey, bonus money if you crash it to the next junction that's coming up like a quarter mile ahead. You know, to do fun stuff in the Burnout world that you're only able to do in a Burnout world. Kind of make that world feel alive. But yeah, the thing with Burnout Paradise was no crash mode. They took it out, and I think when I bought it with like all the DLC and stuff, and they unlocked all the cars for me, which kind of took out the fun of the game. So I think I had a sour experience with that a little bit, but like some kind of progression system as well to you know give me that show me the shiny car that I can unlock if I put in 10 hours or so, right? I just a little bit more lively. I think open world would have did Paradise a little bit more, and then a return of crash mode would be fantastic.
Did either of you play Revenge, the one that came right after this?
I did not play Revenge.
No, this is the only Burnout I've touched.
I don't think I played Revenge. I feel like I remember seeing it in a Blockbuster or something, but yeah. What would be one song that would need to be on a brand new Burnout game today?
Guns N' Roses, Paradise City.
I'm screaming.
Well, Simple Plan. They missed Simple Plan. They can bring them back for
I
this
think they
one.
need to. Yeah. Put on Just a Kid.
Like, I know this is usually like a jokey answer for us, but I'm serious. Limp Bizkit's Hot Dog.
Ooh. Be good.
Like, unironically.
Wolf Mother's Woman wasn't in this game, so maybe we'll bring... It might have been a later one, though. I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
I say put Gimme Chocolate by Baby Metal.
You know what? It's weird. I was thinking that just now. Like, that cycled through in Thunder Horse, like, for some reason.
Yeah,
like...
both of those need to be in a... I don't think we get enough Baby Metal in any media. I think there needs to be that. I think Gimme Chocolate is, probably the most popular, well-known song by them. So, go for it.
Yeah. They have some good other hits, too, outside of that. If people cared to listen to them. But, over here. Oh, man, I mean, you need Rob Zombie, right? Like,
this didn't have any Rob Zombie, let alone the one that you should have.
I feel like you can't separate him from Cars, you know? I mean, he has a song named after one, right? Like, or a couple, actually.
Yeah. I think he needs to be in it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the new Twisted Metal can pull in some of the Burnout.
So, quick question about Twisted Metal. Did they have like a racing mode?
They did not. That 2011 game kind of had these larger stage maps where you weren't necessarily racing, but you did. I felt like I had to drive a lot more in those in specific directions rather than just like aim at enemy, shoot at enemy.
I was like, man, if Burnout just had like a machine gun on the front, that's just like that's just the only thing it's missing here. Maybe.
Well, that's the Rob Zombie car and the new Burnout game that includes the music.
I was like, maybe Twisted Metal should, I don't know, do that.
I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but this game is of the era of me renting a lot of games.
Yeah.
I think I did own this, but were there any games that felt unobtainable, even though you could have just bought it, but games that just always felt like a rental game? Because this, in my memory, still kind of feels like a rental game, despite I probably did own it. But like, it just feels like one of those ones where I never would have bought it. I just kept renting it when I wanted to play it.
Yeah.
Unobtainable. So a game I did rent a lot, which was fucking awful. I don't know why I kept Ready to Rumble Boxing.
Dude,
the first one or the second one?
I don't know. They're not probably the
I
first one.
love the first one.
All right, we'll try playing it.
I had it on 64, so it wasn't any different.
I guess this could work for Unattainable. I always thought that game was better than when I sat down and actually fucking played it. Every time I must have rented this game like 4 times.
Yeah.
And every time I played it, I would get to like the third opponent and just be awful. Like, just get knocked out. And I don't know, maybe I didn't know the game, but it was not that great playing it, especially when like Fight Night comes along. Especially when like Fight Night comes along, a little more simulation based, and that's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's unobtainable, but I guess like the unobtainable, like I thought of it being good enough to buy.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
You just reminded me. I think I would cheese Ready the Rumble though. Like I'd pick the girl. She had like a. I think she had like the huge afro. I think she was like on like front of the box or something like that. She was like one of the main characters. She could do like a cartwheel, and I would always just do the cartwheel, and that would just overpower everything. So maybe if I played the game correctly, I probably wouldn't have as great of a time if I didn't cheese it. But yeah, speaking of the 64 era, I think that was when like I rented games the most.
Yeah.
And Kirby 64 for some reason was like I could never. It was either like too expensive outside of renting, or I just didn't see it anywhere else. It was only available through Blockbuster or something like that. So I'm not sure if I rented that game multiple times. I want to say I did, Because for some, I mean, that's sticking out to me. I had to have more than once because I probably wanted to finish it and just didn't have enough time on my first rental, so I wanted to keep like continuing it. But yeah, like definitely that. I'm not sure about anything else at the moment.
You reminded me now that Star Fox 64 was that for me.
Wow.
And specifically because I feel like we wanted it because we liked Fox and Smash Brothers.
Okay.
It was always rented out at Blockbuster. And by chance, we ended up in a Hollywood Video for some reason. And they had a copy of it in there. It was a random like Friday night, and we were like, can we rent that? We rented it, spent the whole night doing the battle mode stuff and like toying around with the on-ground whatever. And it was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then we returned it. And I think because like it felt like, oh, that's a thing I got at Hollywood Video, that I could never play it otherwise. So I didn't play it again until the 3DS remake came out.
Interesting. I was like the reverse because like that was a birthday present, and then being excited to play Fox in Smash because I could finally be out of the R wing, because to be out of the R wing you needed like all the medals. You need to collect every medal in that game. It's like that was brutal for me. So that was nice. Oh man, I feel like I just had another game and then I forgot it. That sucks.
Sorry.
No.
I thought by me talking for a second, it would jar your memory, but I did the opposite.
It did. It totally did. And then I dropped it. Oh man. Oh yeah, got it. There were some games that were only rentable.
Oh yeah.
Blockbuster had like one or two like exclusives, and I think Clay Fighter 63 and the third or something like that was one of them.
Yep, that was one. They had an exclusive Donkey Kong thing, Donkey Kong Country, one of those. There was like it was not like, it was like an offshoot of 1, 2, or 3, but it was like a tournament edition kind of thing. They had a couple of those Blockbuster tournament style things that you could only rent there, and they were,
I never
rented. I missed that era.
Like I never rented a console. And I know
it always seemed so expensive to me, but looking back at, I've seen ads and they're not that expensive.
Like PS2s were never available, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the employees would just cycle out the time to rent it and be like, so it was just always like unobtainable.
Yeah.
I like how you say you've missed that era, but then you have all these different. You have Game Pass. If you have a Prime subscription, you get 2 free games. You can do a Humble Bundle and get free games. PSN.
No, that's exactly the problem, right? There's too many options now. Back then, it was like, what are my outlets for video games? This. Okay,
fair.
What is my pool? Like now, it's like, yeah, you're totally right, but now there's the,
well, the trade-off
choice is crippling.
The trade-off is that some asshat just keeps renting the game out, or just forgets to return it, or if they do return it, it's damaged. So you have like a messed up disc or something.
Then Star Fox became this like weird relic for me that I felt like was this like weird, like highly coveted thing. Like, you know what I mean? Because it was like my Blockbuster never had Star Fox, therefore Star Fox must be this holy grail of whatever. And I feel like now, like, not only do we have too many options, but then when something doesn't stick right away, especially when it's on Game Pass, it makes it so much easier to throw it away and jump to the next thing. And it's like, I've been playing through Ghostwire Tokyo, and it was like, part of me a while back was like, I'm going to wait for that to hit Game Pass. And then I actually just bought it on PS5, and I'm like, I'm going to play through it. And now it's been like, there's parts where I kind of don't want to play that game because it's open world and it's starting to hit a lot of those like dead ends for me, and it's very samey. But then I'm like, you know what? I spent money on it. I want to see it through to the, like, I'm like kind of forcing myself to, where if I had started this on Game Pass, I would have bounced a long time ago. And I would have missed out on a lot of things that I really like about the game. And I think that's the thing that has changed now, where like back then you would get a thing and it would be the thing. And it's been a kind of a perpetuating problem, I think, where like I have too much access and I'm trying to like, I don't know. I think what I need to do is like on any of these consoles, just delete everything that's installed, install one thing and only play that for whatever,
They just had Doom on
force
everything.
myself to like it. But it goes back to that Burnout 3 thing of like, Burnout 3 had systems and things designed in it that made it fun to play no matter how you were approaching it, right? Like, you can jump in into a race and walk away and have a great time, or you can spend hours doing crash mode to see if you can just do a little bit better. And it was just that, I don't know. Again, it's probably like a product of being younger and having more time to just sit and do nothing but play a game. But I think also like the fact that things were so scarce that like you really had very few channels to get games, I think really did help it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think you gotta be your own parent in a way. It's like, all right, this is your allowance. You're only getting this one game. Enjoy it. What, you got $30? Have fun.
Yeah. But again, it's tough. It's very, very tough. I want to try. I don't know. Part of me at some point this year, I was like, maybe I will do a thing where this year I only play the games that are on our list. And then I broke that because I wanted to play something else. And then it was like, all right, I'm going to play other things.
That's impossible this year for me. That's just too many good ones out there.
No, yeah, there's way too many new things coming out that are happening. And then, yeah. But at the end of every episode in season 10, we rank the game that we've talked about. And it's come to that moment where we are ready to rank Burnout 3 Takedown. This one's pretty good.
Yeah.
How good is it though? You know, that's the question.
So when I first started up the game, right, I was just immediately impressed. Like if I was at some like type of E3 thing and this was a demo and then you sat down, this would probably be the highlight of my time. Just like right off the bat, everything's just boom, boom, everything's just clicking together. It feels so good. But then the longer you play it, the more you start to notice some things. Not that it's awful. Not that I'm not saying like it's just getting worse over time in a way, but you just start to notice more things. And then you kind of start to optimize the game to your way at that point. Like you can, and they have the options for it too. Like you can turn off certain things. You can have certain songs that only play at certain times. I think they're aware of the things that you start to notice. Like you can turn off the kill cam because you know that can get in the way too. So like I like that they're aware of that. So I was like super high. It brought me down a little bit, and then it brought me back to like a good balance again of liking it. And this game is like high up there for me. It like when I was first impressed, it was like my number one. This is above Wii Sports for me.
Oh wow.
Oh okay.
But there's three of us here. Like this isn't my
Not
list.
quite that high.
Okay, don't tell me your final landing spot, Mark, but you started above Wii Sports. When you started to detract, where did it slingshot down to?
Where did it slingshot? Like just like place number or like below which game or?
Yeah, below which game? Like if it's above Wii Sports at first, and then it started to kind of
Free fall
feel
a little bit. Yeah.
Where did it fall to? Because obviously you've come back up, but
not that far down actually.
Oh, okay. Portal 2.
Yeah, like it's either below Wii Sports or below Portal 2 for me.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Matt, where are you landing?
I was kind of writing that another EA Sports game on this list, right around the SSX Tricky.
Yeah. That's about where I was.
Maybe I don't know what side of Get Through Man I think I'm on. I think that's my internal debate. I don't know if I'm above it or below it.
It's another weird one where I'm. Part of me is above WWF No Mercy, but I'm also below Get to Room Man. So I think, and then the more I think about WWF No Mercy and how good that was, I really don't think that this is better than that one. And it drop spiked. I think it's the new number 7. I think it bumps SSX down and goes below Guitar Man for me. Do you feel like it edges above Guitar, Matt?
They're so different. It's tough. It's one of those, like, at least like with SSX Tricky and Burnout, you can kind of make that direct comparison, or kind of within the same genre in a way. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be. I like to make this analogy a lot, but like, what side of the bed do I wake up on? Today. I can see me saying some days better.
You like to make that analogy a lot. You're the first one that's pulled that one out.
No, just on here. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't know about the Guitar Man, but like with Mark being so high on it, do you think just like
that has weight that pulls it up a little bit? And that's where. And I wonder, thinking back to your criticisms of Guitar Man, largely it was certain stages that got randomly difficult and things like that, where I feel like Burnout does not necessarily have that. Like Burnout, I think, feels good to play through and through, right?
You don't have to start.
Things like,
yeah, sorry.
No, like there's things like Mark mentioned that like kind of like start to feel whatever about Burnout, but you can tweak them, you can change them, you can modify the game. Where Guitar Man, it is that experience beginning to end, and you have to figure it out or don't.
I was just gonna say you don't have to start the race over when you pause the game.
There's that too.
I think another one of my criticisms was like Guitar Man was I wanted like 1 or 2 more stages. I feel like I mean, this has a lot. There's a lot here. Just
and it counts
just the modes itself. Like think of the same track, but just the modes. I mean, really didn't talk about the modes, but you got a race. You have the face-off, which is, I think, a World Tour exclusive thing. The Road Rage, which is a ton of fun. I think that's my favorite mode in the game. Your crash mode junctions on the different areas of that map. You have the junctions there. So, yeah, in terms of like things to offer, this definitely has that. I guess I'm above Guitar Man, but do we dare keep talking?
Well, that was my next question. Yeah, is this
sure?
Does you think it goes over Metal Gear?
Yeah, it's easy to jump into.
That's
the
fair.
controls
that's
are right there.
Fair statement.
Yeah, very approachable.
I mean, not to diss Metal Gear 2 like that. I mean, just Metal Gear 2 is just so distinctive that like, there's a lot about it that can probably deter people now. Probably not so much back then, because everything was so different back then. Everything was so experimental. But but we're all playing these today, so I'm just comparing it to post all that, Yeah, I don't know. It feels more approachable. Burnout feels more approachable to me.
Well, I guess I can't get too attached to Metal Gear Solid. Y'all maybe say it was the worst one in the franchise, so.
Hey. How about WWF No Mercy?
I think that's where I stop. I think just like in terms of them, like a racing game being a racing game, I think there's things I think I would add. I'm trying to think
okay,
of an example
now. We kind of all agree that WWF No Mercy is the best wrestling game, right?
Right. Like I don't like
that was fun.
Besides new customizable things and maybe current rosters, I don't know what else I could add to that game that would make it better, right?
So then, yeah, with Burnout 3, is this the best racing game ever? No. Because the answer is Ridge Racer 4.
I've never played a Ridge Racer.
Neither have I.
Oh, Daddy, you gotta get yourself some R4, buddy.
So, like... Yeah, see, this is where it's tough for me, because... Personally, I think I like No Mercy more than Res Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
But... I think the only thing that stops No Mercy is probably the limitations of the hardware. And... the controller.
But
it's not the worst. I think they did what they could with the 64 controller, like perfectly with a game like that. It's like I'm just
saying, when you start to add more systems and you get more buttons involved, look at the mess that the 2K wrestling games have gotten into. There's like too much. This is like that game is like the perfect balance of complexity and simplicity.
Well, and I think the thing, like you pointed out with Burnout 3, where it's a 3-button game, with No Mercy, I remember I wasn't doing much. I didn't look at a guide for controller, like I didn't look at the actual manual or anything, but I did not do much, and I was pulling off some of the signature moves that I remembered from that era with ease, and it was very, very approachable.
See, and that was the opposite. I needed the manual, and I still couldn't pull off like a signature move. Because,
like, WWE 2K, it's that I don't want to get
I know there's a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of... I got lucky. But it was still, like, for me, that first experience of, like, I can pick up this and play this, and it feels like a wrestling game should feel. And I think the same thing can be said for Burnout 3.
And, like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're both easy to pick up and play and just, like, go have fun with it.
Now, here's the other part I had not considered. I think I like Burnout 3 more than WWF No Mercy. I think WWF No Mercy is technically a better game, but I do think that, like, while I remember after that week being surprised at how good No Mercy was and feeling like, oh, I could come back to this all the time, I haven't. And I still think about it from time to time, but I think Burnout might be more evergreen for me. Because I feel like I can always jump into a racing game. I don't feel like I can always jump into No Mercy, which I don't think that's fair to weigh these. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because it's entered my brain.
They're very different.
The thing with Burnout that I don't know how many hours we all dumped into it, like this past play session, to prep for this, but like it does get repetitive because it's just race after race. Road rage after road rage, crash. I mean, there's a lot of crash junctions, so at least they vary. But like, you kind of only can look for the tanker so many times before kind of want to move on. And that's the beauty. You kind of flip the flop between the two modes because racing versus crash, and they are kind of two separate entities. Almost treated like. But with I don't know. Like the whole thing with No Mercy is like there is the single player stuff, right? And there's differences in the pathways for the title, and you can replay them, get the different pathways. You can replay them with the person that has the belt to do like the defending the title like kind of second half of that story, and then like the whole custom creation thing. I'm just not talking about like a wrestler, like getting into the stables, editing wrestlers, all that stuff. I think there's just another level that No Mercy brings to the table that Burnout, like what's the customization? 3 colors on a different car, if that car can change colors. I think there's nothing wrong that you can't do anything, but I'm just saying, like, when you compare what No Mercy can give you to what Burnout can give you, sometimes I think No Mercy offers a little bit more in terms of options, almost. But I kind of to what you just said, I disagree. I think No Mercy is a more fun game for me than Burnout. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's genre. I know. Yeah.
I will say No Mercy overall probably has a better soundtrack. Now, like, of course, I know I said earlier, like, yes, there's a song from my favorite band in Burnout. And I went and, like, I replicated the playlist on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it while working. And I caught myself just skipping, like, 90% of this soundtrack. Because it's just not, it's either stuff, a lot of it is, yes, I grew up with it, and I do like some of it, but most of it I just do not care for.
I don't know how nitpicky this is, but I don't know why when you started talking about soundtrack, like, I thought of loading screens, like, a little bit of loading in Burnout to get in and out of things.
Dude, like, every screen was like a new song,
in and out.
too.
Yeah, like, nothing ever stinks. In Crash Mode is...
But,
yeah.
Again,
I forgot to bring that up. Why is Crash Mode so silent? I know it was like 10 seconds, but throw me in the middle of a chorus.
It needed music.
Yeah,
it needed something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So quiet.
I think I'm good with Burnout 3 between Metal Gear and No Mercy. I think I'm good with it as the new number 5.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I guess as far as this list goes, that's probably where we're going to settle.
I'm trying to like remain. I think like right now I feel high on Burnout, but I do remember the high of No Mercy, and we were all very high on that one.
Portal 2 can't, like they can't even count to 3. Like
Well, that's not Portal 2's fault. That's
no,
Valve's
it's your
fault.
guys' fault for putting it so high. Portal 2 should not be that high on this list.
Oh
but that's
no,
a
it should
different-
be. No, it should be.
I like where it's at. I think we put Res too high. But that's just me.
I think this is too low.
I was gonna say I think it's in the right spot. I'm actually very so far. Like, I'm very happy with the top 6. Like, I don't think I would put in a different order.
I don't know. I mean, like, can you?
I'm gonna maybe flip Wii Sports and Portal 2, but that's me. I understand.
Can
the
you
Wii
kill
Sports
enemies to Sugar Cult's Memory and Res Infinite? I don't think so. Can you solve portals in Portal 2 to Sugar Cult's Memory? I don't think so.
I want to say...
Don't you dare bring up the music of Wii Sports, because that is impeccable.
Speaking of Metal Gear, when I played
kidding.
Metal Gear 1, I was also simultaneously watching Sopranos for the first time, and I think it was Sugar Cult posters that AJ Soprano had in his room. And I remembered seeing them and going, Sugar? Of all the things. And it was a consistent thing throughout the entire, like, multiple seasons of The Sopranos as AJ got older. And Sugar Cult was very much not a thing. He had Sugar Cult t-shirts, posters. You'd hear a song in the background.
Whenever I listen to Sugar Cult, I think of the worst times in high school.
Yep.
Bouncing off the walls. Get out of here.
Oh, man. It's like cold all over again. It's not that bad, though. Not quite that bad.
I think I'd rather listen to Cold.
I don't know, man. You should... No, probably not.
I got 30 seconds of that music video a couple weeks ago. I'm feeling pretty good about that.
This has been Burnout 3 Takedown from EA and Criterion Games. This is a fun one. A very fun one.
Mm-hmm.
As Season 10 continues. Season 10 continues next week, episode 452, and Downwell. So come back and get down with us. Till then, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. See you next week. Bye.